Welcome to Code Your English, the home to learn and grow fast.
Hello, and welcome back to Code Your English, a place where we don't just learn English, but we also learn how to understand life in a deeper and more meaningful way. Today, I want to start with a simple question, but a question that has confused people for centuries. A question that poets have written about, that philosophers have tried to explain, and that every human being has felt in their own way. And that question is, what is love? Really? Take a moment and think about it. When you hear the word love, what comes into your mind? Maybe you think about a romantic relationship. Maybe you imagine two people together, smiling, laughing, and sharing beautiful moments. Or maybe you think about your family, your parents, your mother, your father, the people who have always been there for you. For some people, love feels warm and safe. For others, it feels confusing, even painful. But here is the real question. Is love just a feeling? Is it something that comes and goes like happiness or sadness? Or is it something more stable, something deeper than just emotion? Because if love is only a feeling, then why does it sometimes stay even when the feeling disappears? And if it is just emotion, why do people continue to love even when things become difficult? Or maybe love is attachment. Maybe love means holding on to someone, needing them, not wanting to lose them. But then again, if love is only attachment, why does attachment sometimes create fear, jealousy, and pain? And why do some of the deepest forms of love feel free, not heavy? So now we come to the most important thought. What if love is something deeper than both emotion and attachment? What if love is not just something we feel, but something we choose, something we build slowly, through understanding, patience, and care? In today's episode, we are going to explore this question together. Not in a simple or surface way, but in a deep and meaningful way. We will look at love from different perspectives. From science, from religion, from poetry, from real-life experiences. And by the end of this journey, you will not only improve your English, but you will also understand something very important about life and about yourself. So stay with me, open your mind, and open your heart, because this is going to be more than just a lesson. This is going to be a journey into understanding what love really is. What people usually think love is. When we hear the word love, most of us don't start with deep thinking. We start with images. And these images usually come from movies, social media, and the world around us. From a very young age, we are shown a version of love that looks beautiful, exciting, and perfect. In movies, love is often about romance. Two people meet, they feel an instant connection, everything feels magical, and no matter how many problems come, everything ends happily. These stories make love look simple, fast, and full of emotion. And slowly, without even realizing it, we begin to believe that this is what love is supposed to be. Then comes social media, which makes this idea even stronger. Every day, we see pictures of couples smiling, traveling, giving gifts, celebrating special moments. We see short videos filled with romantic music, perfect dates, and emotional words. And all of this creates a very powerful image in our minds. It makes love look like constant happiness, constant attention, and constant excitement. It makes us think that if love is real, it should always feel good, always look perfect, and always be easy. But what we don't see is the full story. We don't see the arguments, the misunderstandings, the silent struggles, and the effort behind those moments. And this is where the confusion begins. Because when real life doesn't look like movies or social media, we start to question everything. We start to think, is this really love? When things become difficult, when emotions change, or when problems appear, many people feel lost. Some think love has ended just because the excitement is gone. Others hold on too tightly, believing love means never letting go, even when it hurts. And some people become afraid of love completely, because their expectations and reality do not match. The truth is, most people are not confused because love is complicated. They are confused because they learned a version of love that is incomplete. They learned love as only romance, only attraction, only beautiful moments, but not as patience, effort, understanding, and growth. And because of this, love becomes something that people chase, fear, or misunderstand. So the key message here is very simple, but very important. Love is often misunderstood. What we see is not always what love truly is. And if we want to understand love deeply, we must go beyond what movies show us and what social media tells us, and start looking at love in a more real, honest, and meaningful way. Psychological perspective. Science of love. Now let's move a little deeper and look at love from a psychological perspective. The science of love. Because while movies and social media show us how love looks, psychology tries to explain how love actually works inside the human mind and heart. According to psychologists, love is not just a single emotion. It is not like happiness or anger that comes and goes quickly. Love is something more complex. It is a combination of emotion, thinking, and decision. Yes, emotion is a part of love. That warm feeling, that excitement, that happiness when you are with someone. But that is only the beginning. Real love also includes how you think about the person, how you understand them, and most importantly, the choices you make about them every day. When researchers study love, they often explain it using three main parts. The first is attraction. This is usually where love begins. You feel drawn to someone, you enjoy their presence, you feel excited when you talk to them. This stage is powerful, but it is also temporary. Attraction can change, and sometimes it can even disappear. That's why love cannot depend only on attraction. The second part is attachment. This is deeper than attraction. Attachment is the feeling of connection and comfort. It is when someone becomes important in your life, when you feel safe with them, when you trust them. This is the stage where love starts to feel stable. But even attachment alone is not enough, because sometimes people become attached in unhealthy ways. They depend too much, or they fear losing the other person so much that it creates stress and pain. And then comes the most important part. Commitment. This is where love becomes a choice. Commitment means deciding to stay, to care, to support, even when things are not easy. It means choosing the person not only in happy moments, but also in difficult ones. This is the part of love that many people forget. Because feelings can change, attraction can go up and down, but commitment is what gives love strength and direction. Modern psychological research shows something very important. Love is both a feeling and a choice. It starts as a feeling, but it grows through decisions. It is not something that just happens to you forever. It is something you build, slowly, with time, effort, understanding, and patience. This idea can completely change the way we think about love. Because if love was only a feeling, then we would have no control over it. It would come and go, and we would just follow it. But when we understand that love is also a decision, we realize that we have a role in it. We can choose how we act, how we respond, how we care, and how we grow in a relationship. So the next time you think about love, don't just ask yourself, "What do I feel?" Also ask, "What am I choosing?" Because real love is not just something you feel in your heart. It is something you build with your actions, your thoughts, and your commitment every single day. Religion's perspective, including Islamic perspective on love. Now let's explore love from a deeper and more spiritual angle. The perspective of religion. Because long before psychology tried to study love, religions around the world were already teaching people what love truly means, how it should be expressed, and why it is such an important part of human life. If we look at different religions, we begin to see a beautiful pattern. In many traditions, love is not just an emotion between people. It is something sacred. In Christianity, for example, love is often described as unconditional and selfless, loving others with kindness, forgiveness, and compassion, even when it is difficult. In Hindu philosophy, love can be seen as devotion, a deep connection between the soul and the divine, where love becomes a path to spiritual growth. In Buddhism, love is expressed as compassion and kindness toward all living beings, without attachment or selfish desire. Across these traditions, one message becomes very clear. Real love is not selfish, not temporary, and not only about personal happiness. It is something pure, something that lifts you up and connects you to something greater than yourself. Now, when we come to the Islamic perspective, the understanding of love becomes even more balanced, deep, and structured. In Islam, love is not rejected, and it is not seen as something weak or emotional only. In fact, love is considered a natural and important part of faith. But at the same time, it is guided, controlled, and given direction so that it leads to goodness, not harm. In this perspective, love begins with the most important form of love for Allah. This is the highest and purest type of love. It is not based on physical attraction or temporary feelings, but on recognition, gratitude, and connection with the Creator. When a person truly loves Allah, it brings peace to the heart, purpose to life, and clarity in decisions. This love becomes the foundation, and it shapes all other forms of love in a person's life. Then comes love for people. Islam teaches that loving others, your family, your friends, your spouse, even humanity, is something beautiful and encouraged. But this love is not blind or uncontrolled. It is built on respect, responsibility, kindness, and care. It teaches you to treat people well, to be patient, to forgive, and to support others. Love, in this sense, becomes a source of goodness in society. And this brings us to a very important idea in the Islamic understanding of love. Love must be guided by reason. In many modern views, people think love means losing control, following emotions blindly, and doing anything for the person they love. But Islam teaches the opposite. It teaches that real love should not make you blind. It should not push you toward wrong actions, unhealthy attachment, or emotional harm. Instead, love should be balanced with wisdom. It should be thoughtful, respectful, and responsible. This balance is what makes the concept of love so powerful and safe at the same time. Because when love is only emotion, it can lead to confusion and pain. But when love is guided by both the heart and the mind, it becomes stable, meaningful, and beneficial. So the deeper message here is something we should all reflect on. True love brings you closer to truth, not away from it. If a love makes you lose yourself, lose your values, or move away from what is right, then it is not real love in its pure form. But if a love makes you a better person, brings peace to your heart, and guides you toward honesty, kindness, and purpose, then that is the kind of love that is worth holding on to. And this understanding changes everything. Because now love is not just about how you feel. It is about who you become because of it. Sufi perspective. Love as a spiritual journey. Now let's move into one of the most beautiful and deep understandings of love, the Sufi perspective. This is not just about love as a feeling between people, but love as a spiritual journey, a journey of the soul. In this tradition, love is not something small or temporary. It is something powerful, something that can completely change who you are. To understand this perspective, we must first talk about two very important figures, Rumi and Shams Tabrizi. Their relationship is one of the most famous examples of spiritual love in history. Before meeting Shams, Rumi was a respected scholar, a teacher, someone full of knowledge. But when Shams entered his life, everything changed. This was not a normal friendship, and it was not romantic love in the usual sense. It was something much deeper. Shams helped Rumi move from knowledge to experience, from thinking about truth to feeling it deeply. And through this connection, Rumi transformed into a poet whose words about love still touch millions of hearts today. In the Sufi understanding, love is not just about another person. It is a connection with God. It is a longing, a deep desire of the soul to return to its source. This means that when you feel true love, it is not just about the person in front of you. It is something greater moving through you. Love becomes a bridge between the human heart and the divine. It lifts you beyond everyday life and helps you feel something eternal. But this journey of love is not easy. One of the most important ideas in Sufism is that love requires you to lose your ego. The ego is that part of us that is always thinking about me, my needs, my pride, my control, my image. And this ego often blocks real love. It creates jealousy, fear, and selfishness. But Sufis believe that true love slowly burns this ego away. It breaks your pride. It makes you humble. It teaches you to give without expecting, to care without controlling, and to love without needing ownership. This is why love, in this perspective, is a process of transformation. It changes you from the inside. It softens your heart. It makes you more patient, more kind, more understanding. You begin to see people differently. You begin to see life differently. The things that once seemed important, status, control, attention, start to lose their value. And instead, your heart becomes focused on truth, connection, and inner peace. For Rumi, love was like a fire. Not a comfortable fire, but a powerful one. A fire that burns away everything false inside you. He believed that love destroys the ego so that something more real can be born. And when the ego becomes smaller, the heart becomes bigger. When pride disappears, love grows. This is why he often expressed that love is not there to make you comfortable. It is there to transform you. So from this Sufi perspective, we begin to see something very important. Love is not just emotion. It is not just attraction. It is not just happiness. Love is a path that takes you from who you are now to who you can become. It is a journey from ego to humility, from confusion to clarity, from separation to connection. And maybe this is one of the deepest truths about love. If your love is real, it will change you. It will challenge you. It will break some parts of you, but only to build something more beautiful inside you. Because in the end, love is not just about finding someone. It is about finding your true self through that connection. Concept of ishq, deep love. Now let's go even deeper into the meaning of love, into a concept that is often described as the highest and most powerful form of love, and that is ishq. This word is not just another way to say love. It carries a much stronger, much deeper meaning. When people use the word ishq, they are talking about an intense, overwhelming, and selfless form of love. A love that goes beyond comfort, beyond logic, and sometimes even beyond what we can fully explain in words. Unlike ordinary love, which can start with attraction or simple emotions, ishq is something that takes over the heart completely. It is not casual, and it is not temporary. It is a love where a person is ready to give, to sacrifice, and to stay committed without expecting anything in return. This is why ishq is often described as a love that is pure. It is not based on what you receive, but on what you are willing to give. It is not about control or possession, but about devotion and sincerity. But to understand ishq properly, we also need to understand that love itself has different levels. Not all love is the same, and not all love reaches this depth. The first level is human love. This is the love most people experience in daily life. It includes love between partners, friends, and family. It is natural, emotional, and important, but it is often mixed with personal needs, expectations, and sometimes even fear. This type of love can be beautiful, but it can also be unstable if it depends only on feelings. The second level can be understood as intellectual love. This is a more mature form of love, where a person starts to understand love with the mind as well as the heart. Here, love becomes more balanced. It includes respect, understanding, patience, and awareness. A person at this level does not just feel love, but also thinks about it, reflects on it, and tries to grow through it. This love is less emotional and more stable because it is guided by wisdom. And then comes the highest level, divine love. This is where the idea of ishq reaches its full meaning. Divine love is not focused on people in the usual way. It is a deep connection with something greater than ourselves, a connection with truth, with the Creator, with the essence of existence. In this level, love becomes completely selfless. There is no ego, no demand, no expectation. It is pure giving, pure devotion, pure surrender. This is why ishq is often described as a love that transforms a person completely. It takes you beyond your personal desires and connects you to something much bigger. It teaches you to let go of selfishness, to accept pain as part of growth, and to find peace not in getting, but in giving. It is a love that can make a person stronger, deeper, and more aware of life. And the most important message here is this: the highest form of love is selfless and pure. It is not about how much you are loved, but how deeply you can love without conditions. It is not about what you gain, but what you become through that love. Because in the end, real love is not measured by words, gifts, or moments. It is measured by the depth of your sincerity, the purity of your intention, and your ability to care without expecting anything in return. When we begin to understand this, our whole view of love starts to change. We stop chasing only feelings, and we start seeking something deeper, something more meaningful. And that is where love becomes not just an experience, but a path to becoming a better human being. Poetic perspective. Love beyond words. Now let's step into a different world, the world of poetry, where love is not studied like science and not explained like a theory, but felt, expressed, and experienced in a very deep and emotional way. Because when it comes to love, poets have always believed something very important: that love cannot be fully explained with logic or simple words. No matter how much we try to define it, something always remains beyond explanation. Poets don't try to give clear definitions of love. Instead, they try to describe how it feels. They use images, metaphors, and emotions to bring us closer to something that is otherwise difficult to understand. And when you read or listen to poetry about love, you don't just understand it with your mind. You feel it in your heart. For example, love is often described as fire, but not just any fire. A fire that burns inside you. A fire that gives warmth, passion, and energy, but at the same time, a fire that can hurt, that can consume, that can change you completely. This idea shows us that love is powerful. It is not something small or simple. It can create beauty, but it can also challenge you and push you beyond your limits. Sometimes, poets describe love as an ocean, deep, wide, and endless. When you stand at the edge of the ocean, you cannot see where it ends. In the same way, love can feel infinite. You can go deeper and deeper and still feel like there is more to discover. But just like the ocean, love can also be calm one moment and stormy the next. It can bring peace, but it can also bring uncertainty. And this reminds us that love is not always stable or predictable. It has depth, mystery, and movement. And then, love is also described as light, a soft, gentle light that guides you in darkness, a light that helps you see things clearly, that brings hope, that gives direction. In this sense, love is not just emotional. It is meaningful. It helps you understand yourself and the world around you. It brings clarity when life feels confusing, and comfort when life feels heavy. Through all these images, fire, ocean, light, poets are trying to show us one simple truth. Love is too big to fit into a simple definition. You cannot fully explain it, just like you cannot fully explain the beauty of a sunset or the feeling of peace when you sit quietly and reflect. These are experiences, and love is one of the deepest experiences a human being can have. And this brings us to the key message. Some things in life are not meant to be fully explained. They are meant to be felt. Love is one of those things. You can study it, you can think about it, you can talk about it. But in the end, its true meaning comes from experiencing it in your own life. So maybe instead of always asking, "What is love exactly?" we should also ask, "How does love feel in my life? What does it teach me? How does it change me?" Because sometimes the heart understands what words cannot explain. And in those moments, you realize that love is not just an idea. It is something alive, something real, something deeply human. A short, impactful story. Now let me share a simple story with you. A story that may feel small, but carries a very deep meaning about love. There was a young boy named Arav. He was kind, emotional, and like many people, he believed that love meant holding on to someone forever. One day, He met a girl who made him feel something he had never felt before. When he talked to her, he felt happy. When she smiled, his whole day became brighter. Slowly, she became the most important part of his life. He started thinking about her all the time. He wanted to spend every moment with her. In his heart, he believed, this is love. But as time passed, things began to change. Life became busy. Situations became complicated. The girl started moving in a different direction in her life, with different goals and different priorities. Arav felt confused. He tried harder to hold on. He gave more time, more attention, more energy. But the more he tried to control the situation, the more distant things became. And one day, she left. Not because she hated him, not because there was anger, but simply because their paths were no longer the same. And for Arav, this was one of the most painful moments of his life. He felt empty. He felt lost. He kept asking himself, if this was love, then why did it end? Why couldn't I keep it? For a long time, he believed that he had lost love. That love had failed him. But slowly, with time, silence, and reflection, something inside him began to change. He started to understand something very important. He realized that what hurt him the most was not just losing her, but the idea that love means possession. He believed that if you truly love someone, they should stay with you forever. They should not leave. They should not change. And that is where his understanding was incomplete. He began to see that love is not about holding someone tightly so they cannot leave. Love is not about control. Love is not about making someone stay because you are afraid of losing them. Real love is something much more mature, much more peaceful. It allows freedom. It accepts change. It respects the journey of the other person, even if that journey goes away from you. Arav didn't stop loving her, but his love changed. It became softer. It became more understanding. He stopped asking, why did she leave me? And started asking, what did this love teach me? And the answer was powerful. It taught him patience. It taught him emotional strength. It taught him how to grow, how to stand on his own, and how to love without fear. And that's when he realized, love is not possession. Love is growth. In a different way, we can also see this truth in the love of a mother. A mother gives everything to her child. Her time, her energy, her comfort, sometimes even her own dreams. She does not love because she wants something back. She loves because giving is part of who she is. And even when the child grows up and becomes independent, she does not try to control their life. She supports, she cares, she lets them go when needed. And still, her love remains strong. Both of these stories show us the same truth from different angles. Real love is not about taking. It is not about controlling. It is not about keeping someone for yourself. Real love is about giving care, giving understanding, giving freedom, and sometimes even giving space. And when you truly understand this, something inside you becomes peaceful. Because now, love is no longer something you are afraid to lose. It becomes something you are grateful to experience. Love as a universal force. Now let's expand our view even more and look at love not just as a personal feeling, but as something much bigger, something universal. Because when we truly understand love, we begin to see that it is not limited to one person, one relationship, or one moment. Love is a force that connects human beings across cultures, languages, religions, and backgrounds. Think about it for a moment. No matter where you go in the world, people may speak different languages, follow different traditions, and live very different lives. But the feeling of love is something everyone understands. A mother caring for her child in one country feels the same deep connection as a mother in another part of the world. A friend supporting another friend, a person helping someone in need, a stranger showing kindness. These are all expressions of the same universal force. Love becomes a common language that does not need words. This is why love has the power to create peace. When people truly act from love, they become more understanding, more patient, and more open to others. Love reduces anger, reduces hatred, and reduces the need to compete or dominate. It helps people listen instead of judge, support instead of harm, and connect instead of divide. Many of the conflicts we see in the world come from fear, ego, and misunderstanding. But love has the ability to soften these things. It reminds us that, at a deeper level, we are not as different as we think. This idea was beautifully expressed by Rumi, who believed that love has the power to go beyond all differences. For him, love was not limited by religion, culture, or identity. He saw love as something that brings people closer to their true nature, something that removes the walls we build between each other. In his understanding, when you truly love, you stop seeing people as different or separate. You begin to see the same humanity, the same soul, in everyone. And this changes the way we look at the world. Because now love is not just about me and you. It is not just about relationships or personal happiness. It becomes something global, something that can influence how we treat society, how we respond to challenges, and how we build our future. Love becomes a responsibility, not just an emotion. It becomes something we can practice in small daily actions: kindness, respect, patience, honesty. And these small actions, when multiplied, can create a big impact. So the message here is simple, but very powerful. Love is not just personal. It is global and powerful. It is something that exists within every human being. And when we choose to act from it, we contribute to something much greater than ourselves. And maybe this is one of the most important things to understand. Love is not only something you feel in your heart. It is something you bring into the world through your actions. And when more people begin to do that, even in small ways, the world slowly becomes a better, more peaceful place. What love really is. Final definition. Now, after exploring love from so many different perspectives, psychology, religion, spirituality, poetry, and real-life experience, it is time to bring everything together and ask the most important question again. What is love, really? At this point, we can clearly see that love is not something simple or one-dimensional. It is not just an emotion that appears suddenly and disappears just as quickly. Because if love were only an emotion, it would not survive difficult times. It would not stay when life becomes challenging, when misunderstandings happen, or when the excitement fades. And we also know now that love is not just attraction. Attraction may bring people together, but it cannot hold them together for long. It is only the beginning, not the full story. And love is definitely not just words. Saying "I love you" is easy, but living those words through actions, through consistency, through effort, that is where real love begins to show itself. When we look deeper, love reveals its true nature. Love is care. It is the genuine desire to see someone happy, safe, and at peace, even when it requires effort from your side. It is noticing the small things, being present, and valuing someone beyond your own needs. Love is sacrifice, not in a painful or forced way, but in a meaningful way, where you are willing to give your time, your energy, your comfort, and sometimes even your own desires for the well-being of someone else. It is not about losing yourself, but about sharing yourself. Love is also growth. Real love does not keep you the same. It challenges you, teaches you, and helps you become a better version of yourself. It shows you your weaknesses, not to break you, but to help you improve. It pushes you to be more patient, more understanding, more mature. In this way, love becomes a teacher, not just a feeling, and patience is at the heart of it. Because love is not perfect, it goes through ups and downs. There are moments of misunderstanding, silence, and even distance. But patience allows love to continue. It gives space for healing, for communication, and for rebuilding. Without patience, love becomes fragile. With patience, love becomes strong. Love is also truth. It is honest, real, and sincere. It does not hide behind illusions or false promises. It allows you to be yourself, and it accepts the other person as they truly are. It does not try to control or change everything. Instead, it creates a space where both people can grow honestly. So when we bring all of this together, we begin to see a much clearer picture. Love is not something that just happens to you. It is something you actively create, shape, and maintain. It is not only in your feelings, but in your actions, your decisions, and your mindset. And maybe the simplest way to understand it is this. Love is choosing someone or something with care, again and again. It is choosing to stay kind when it is easier to be angry. It is choosing to understand when it is easier to judge. It is choosing to support, to listen, to grow, even when it requires effort. This definition is simple, but it is powerful. Because it gives you control. It shows you that love is not something you have to wait for or depend on completely. It is something you can practice every day, in small ways, through your choices. And when you start to see love like this, everything changes. Love becomes more stable, more real, and more meaningful. It is no longer just a feeling that comes and goes. It becomes a way of living, a way of being, and a quiet strength that stays with you through every part of life. Life lessons from love. Now, after understanding love from so many angles, the most important question becomes, what can we learn from it? Because love is not just something we experience, it is something that teaches us. It shapes our character, our thinking, and the way we live our lives. And if we pay attention, love can become one of the greatest teachers we will ever have. One of the first and most important lessons is that love is a skill. Many people believe that love is something natural, something that either happens or doesn't happen. But the truth is, while feelings may come naturally, real love requires learning. Just like communication, listening, or understanding others, love improves with practice. You learn how to be more patient, how to respond instead of react, how to care in a way that truly supports another person. At the beginning, you may make mistakes. You may misunderstand. You may expect too much or give too little. But over time, if you are willing to learn, your way of loving becomes better, deeper, and more meaningful. Another powerful lesson is that love needs patience. In the real world, love is not always smooth or easy. There are moments when things don't go as planned, when emotions become heavy, when misunderstandings happen. In these moments, patience becomes the foundation of love. It gives you the strength to pause, to think, and to handle situations calmly instead of emotionally. Without patience, even strong relationships can break. But with patience, people can grow together, solve problems, and build something that lasts. Love also teaches us the importance of understanding. It shows us that every person has their own thoughts, feelings, fears, and experiences. When you truly love someone, you don't just see them from your own perspective. You try to understand their world. You listen carefully. You respect their differences. And this understanding creates a deeper connection, one that goes beyond surface-level communication. It reduces conflict, builds trust, and creates emotional safety. And maybe the most beautiful lesson of all, love makes you grow. Real love does not keep you comfortable all the time. It challenges you. It shows you your weaknesses, your fears, your insecurities. But instead of breaking you, it gives you the opportunity to improve. It helps you become more mature, more aware, and more balanced as a person. Through love, you learn how to control your ego, how to be more kind, and how to become emotionally stronger. When you look at all these lessons together, you start to see something very important. Love is not just about being with someone or feeling something. It is about becoming someone. It is about growing into a better version of yourself. And this is why even painful experiences in love can have value. Because they teach you, they shape you, and they prepare you for deeper and healthier connections in the future. So instead of only asking, "Who loves me?" or "Do I feel love?" maybe we should also ask, "What is love teaching me?" Because when you start learning from love, every experience, good or bad, becomes meaningful. And slowly, you don't just experience love, you understand it, you improve it, and you live it in a more conscious and beautiful way. And now, as we come to the end of this journey, I want you to pause for a moment and just reflect on everything we talked about today. Love is not as simple as we once thought, and it is not as confusing as it sometimes feels. It is something deeper, something quieter, something more meaningful than just emotions or words. If there is one thing you take away from this episode, let it be this. If your love makes you better, it is real. Real love does not destroy you. It does not leave you empty, and it does not take away your peace. Instead, it helps you grow. It makes you more patient, more understanding, more aware of yourself and others. It brings out the best in you, even if the process is sometimes difficult. And also remember this, if your love brings peace, it is true. Because true love does not live in constant fear, stress, or confusion. It may have challenges, yes, but deep inside, it gives you a sense of calm. It makes your heart feel safe, not restless. It helps you trust life, not fight it. That kind of love, the one that brings peace to your heart and clarity to your mind, that is the love worth keeping. So don't rush love. Don't chase only feelings. Don't believe everything you see on the surface. Instead, try to understand love. Try to grow through it. And most importantly, try to become someone who knows how to love in a real, honest, and meaningful way. And with that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for spending your time with me today, for listening, for thinking, and for being open to learning not just English, but also something deeper about life. I truly believe that when you combine language learning with meaningful ideas, your journey becomes much more powerful and enjoyable. As always, keep practicing your English every single day. Try to listen carefully, speak confidently, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. At the same time, keep thinking deeply about life, about your experiences, and about the lessons you learn along the way. Because this is how you grow, not only as a language learner, but as a person. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you love. Someone who might need to hear this message today. Your support means a lot, and it helps this community grow stronger. I'll see you again in the next episode, here on Code Your English. Until then, take care of yourself, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep your heart open.